Letter to Robert Mueller instructing the former special counsel that his testimony, quote, must remain within the boundaries of your public report because matters within the scope of your investigation were covered by executive privilege. Here to discuss, Congressman Denny Heck, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, good to see you. You're going to have the opportunity to question the former special counsel on Wednesday. What do you make of the DOJ's letter to Robert Mueller?
Tomorrow. Well, on the one hand, it's part of, it seems to me, the continuing effort on the part of Attorney General Barr to cover up everything here, starting with his letter that he issued when the report had been issued that was completely misleading and has been borne out to have been completely misleading every day since. And secondly, it's not clear to me what authority he has over whatever it is that Director Mueller may or may not say. Now, look, we know that Director Mueller is a reluctant witness, that he said, and the only time he's appeared before the public, his 8-minute press conference, that he thought the report should stand for itself and indicated that he would only speak within the 4 corners of the report. But you know, the thing is, you never know till they get there. Frankly, from a personal standpoint, I'm not expecting any especially dramatic revelation or bombshell, but you don't know until you've had the opportunity to actually engage in the conversation.
I wonder why they felt it necessary to send that letter if they stood behind what was in the report.
Yeah, well, I think the motivation's clear. The pattern's been set very firmly from day one, which is Attorney General Barr is not interested in the truth coming out in its entirety and in full color. And again, they've been engaged in cover-up from day one.
If Mueller refuses to say anything beyond the contents of his report, what value? You think that has value in a televised testimony?
So one of my colleagues said on your very network this morning that more people had actually seen the movie The Godfather than had read the book. I don't think that many Americans have read the Mueller report. And I think way more Americans are going to actually see parts or all of his testimony on Wednesday. And in and of itself, even if all he is doing is answering yes, no questions or citing his report, I think it has the potential to have an impact on the way people perceive this. And then again, as I said earlier, there's always the possibility that he will say something. If you look back, however, over the many dozens of times that he testified when he was the director of the Department of when he was the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, he tends to be fairly taciturn. He doesn't like to be very forthcoming and go on and on about things. So I'm expecting pretty much for him to stay in character in that regard.
So earlier we spoke to your colleague, Congresswoman Karen Bass. Karen Bass sits on the House Judiciary Committee. That committee's focus is obstruction of justice, while the Intelligence Committee will focus on Russian election interference. Can you give us an idea of what you'd like Robert Mueller to give more details about?
So, as you indicated, the Judiciary Committee will focus on Section 2, which details the 10 different instances of obstruction of justice. We'll focus on Section 1, which deals with the counterintelligence matters. And of course, I think, however, that what most Americans are looking forward to hearing Director Mueller answer is the question, did you say anywhere in the report that there was neither any collusion nor obstruction? Which of course he didn't say, and in fact he said quite the opposite. That's the main question, I think, that will come out as a result of this conversation. But I think in the main, we're going to want to better understand all these people on behalf of the Trump campaign, I think 17 by last count, if I recall correctly, who had dozens and dozens of meetings with either Russian cutouts or Russian operatives to get a better sense of what he thought that was all about, if it is at all possible to get him to enumerate that. But in terms of my questions, Don, I think I am 9th out of the 13 Democrats. And here's another way that people should view this. There are 9 Republicans and 13 Democrats. We have, therefore, if I do my math correctly, at 5 minutes apiece, 75 minutes. And every second of that is gold. And so we're going to have to be making sure that we make the best use of our time to get the most information. And what it is I'll be able to ask as the 9th member of that 13-member questioning will depend, of course, on what the 8 people who went before me have asked. So it's not possible to say with entire certainty what it is I'll be able to ask, because I
Gotcha.
won't know what is asked before me and how he has responded.
Gotcha. Sounds like there's a strategy behind all of it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Congressman Hack.
Thank you, Don.
Not a single new mile of border wall was under construction